Once you have a system that works for you, guess what? You're going to be 30,000% more productive. You are going to have a balance in your life, and you're also going to just have an overall higher quality of life. How about them apples? Welcome back to Creatively Processed, the place for creative entrepreneurs to come together and connect on the upsides and downfalls of being your own boss. Now that we have that out of the way, welcome to my living room. Don't mind my curtains, my fur children, destroy them. Not much I can do about that. Gotta be honest. How are we doing? Are we doing well? It's Monday, for those of you who are curious. I'm trying to create a schedule for filming. And so I think Mondays are the vibe because then I could talk about the week before and then get into the week ahead. This morning went well. Got some productive things done. Got the whole podcast outlined. We have cue cards now. Yup, we're official. They're not perfect, but they're something. Okay, let's talk about today's agenda. First thing we're going to do is our weekly recap. We're going to dive into goal setting, and then we're going to hit the topic of discussion, which today is going to be artist's block. I'm going to share with you the struggles I've gone through with artist block. I'm also going to give you my 5 best pieces of advice. After the topic discussion, I'm going to give you a couple of journaling prompts if you would like to use them. But make sure you stay tuned until the end because I'm going to talk about a giveaway that I'm going to be doing on the Instagram. All right, let's hop into the weekly review. First, I'm going to start off with work, the things I did for work. Last week was full of tax preparation. My accountant's administrative assistant sent out the different forms that we have to fill out in order to get our taxes filed. And so I've been going through my receipts, organizing my spreadsheet, figuring everything out. It takes a really long time for me to get all that organized, and I get really, really nervous about it because I'm always worried I'm going to mess something up or not account for something. But I spent several hours working on that last week, so I'm about ready to submit it, have my taxes done, and focus full force on this year's journey. I'm done living in 2023. It's over. It's past us. Let's get it moving forward. You know what I mean? I also spent a really long time last week working on some stickers because I pumped out a whole bunch of art in the first week of January. I think I made like 24 designs, which is insane. We're crack-a-lackin' this year, okay? We're not messing around. But aside from that, obviously this podcast is a thing now. I am the owner and operator of 3 TikTok accounts, 4 Instagram accounts. I really only use 2 TikTok accounts and 2 Instagram accounts. But then I've got YouTube now and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So I've been kind of just figuring out how to organize all of that and do it efficiently so I'm not dreading posting or filming or coming up with new ideas. It's been a lot to balance. But last night, if you're watching YouTube, I'm about to show you something that really just makes my heart so warm. I created this weekly planner thing, and it kind of just divvies up everything, so not everything is jam-packed into 1 or 2 days. I have it spread out nicely so that I don't get overwhelmed and freaked out by all of the work that I have signed myself up for. And I think creating processes like that, not to slide in the title of the podcast, but creating processes and different, I think that's what it is. Oh no, not the process. Creating systems that work for you. Once you have a system that works for you, guess what? You're going to be 30,000% more productive. You are going to have a balance in your life, and you're also going to just have an overall higher quality of life. How about them apples? Let's talk about media. Between last week and the week before, I watched several seasons of Boy Meets World. Granted, the week before last, I was super sick. Big fan of 80s, 90s, early 2000s sitcoms. I don't think I could watch a sitcom in today's time. I just don't think I would vibe with that. But the older sitcoms are where it's at. I've seen every episode of Full House. Thank you. I've seen every episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but I have not seen every episode of Boy Meets World. I used to always watch it. It would be on like MTV2 when I would come home from school, and I would vibe. So that's kind of the TV that I consumed, I also have been watching a lot of the Canceled podcast with Tana Mojo and Brooke Schofield. And the Canceled podcast is just so real. They just sit on a couch, similar to what I'm doing, but they just have girl talk for like hours. And I could watch it for hours. Not watch it, but have it on as background noise. One thing that my fiance always says is that no matter what gets put on the TV, I'm not gonna watch it. I'll listen to it. I will listen to it all day long. I will not watch it. I have to keep my hands busy or I will go insane. Also, the majority of the time when we start a show or a movie, as soon as Josh hits play, I will get up and like wash dishes, make a meal, clean the bathroom. I'm like, yeah, that's a great movie. Let me just do 17 things before I actually sit down, because otherwise I will think about it throughout the entire movie and then I will be stressed if I don't get it done. So I have to get up and do it. Otherwise I'm not going to pay attention. Not that I would pay attention anyway. Let's talk about music. What kind of music have I been into? Been obsessing with Renee Rapp. If you don't know, you're missing out. I really don't know many of her songs. I will not lie. I really want to see Mean Girls, the musical, the movie. I don't even know what it's called. Is it Mean Girls, the movie, or Mean Girls, the musical? Mean Girls 2? I saw that it was called Mean Girls 2, but I was really confused because they already have a Mean Girls 2. Let's see what it's called. Okay, it looks like it's called Mean Girls. Yeah, I think it's just called Mean Girls 2024. It looks fire. I love musicals. If you didn't know, I did musical theater when I was in high school. It was fun. I loved it. In addition to Miss Renee Rapp, I also have been listening to one of my favorite artists of all time, Quinn XCII. He's so good. And I recently got on a kick of listening to his song with Chelsea Cutler, and it's called Let Me Down. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. If I could play it for you, I would, but copyright. It's just such a good song. I love it. Last but certainly not least, Mr. Noah Kahan. I love you. I love you. I love you. His voice is just it. It is it. The lyrics are it. I watched somebody react to his whole Sticks Season album. Did I watch it? No. Was it in the background and did I listen? Yeah. But he was kind of like analyzing the lyrics and it didn't really hit me until I was listening to it and I was like, holy crap. He is a lyricist. All right, let's talk about food. Have y'all been hyperfixating yet in this year? Because I have. Hummus. Okay, what is it? I love hummus and the flat pretzels. So good. I've been getting the Sabre, the name brand hummus. I don't remember what it's called. That's what I've been getting. Garlic hummus has been my jam. Does it hurt my stomach so bad? Absolutely. Do I continue to eat it because it tastes so good? Absolutely. Josh and I went grocery shopping yesterday. So fun. Grocery shopping with the love of your life is the best time ever. If you can't vibe with me in a grocery store, get out. No thank you. Don't want it. However, my man and I just love grocery shopping. It's so fun. It's an event. I think if I were ever to have a job where I had to submit a resume, not that I ever will because no, but if I did, put grocery shopping on my resume because I am incredibly skilled in that department. All right, let's talk about goals for this week. My biggest goal for this week, finishing creating and scheduling out my February and early March content, mainly for my business page, not necessarily the podcast, because I'm kind of chilling with just doing the podcast stuff weekly. When I was doing some research on starting a podcast, somebody suggested you create like 4 episodes before you even start it, so you have backups. Love that idea, but also I want it to be as organic as possible, and I want to make sure that y'all have like an up-to-date version of me, and it's not like 4 weeks ago, because like I said in the last podcast, there are new versions of myself all the time. I'm always evolving. I'm always changing. There's always new chapters. A new chapter could start midday. We could have 2 chapters in one day. You know what I'm saying? So I need to make sure we're kind of on the same page so you know where I am. I also love talking about my business and I want you guys to be in the know about the business. But yeah, main goal for this week is finishing that content, because when it's scheduled out, it takes so much stress off of me. But as soon as I'm done doing that, I need to brainstorm for the next month and then maybe take a breather at some point, which brings me to my next goal, which is resting. I'll wake up super early. I will get stuff done, and then I will stay up really late and do it all over again. And guess what? Your body needs to rest. My next goal is to drink more water. I did not drink enough water last week, and I suffered. Okay, my body was well aware that I was becoming a dry sponge, and I don't want that to happen this week. Cosmo, oh my gosh. Seriously? I'm gonna be catless by the end of this podcast. That is a joke. They are the loves of my life. Please do not call the cat police on me. Let's dive into the topic discussion. Artist's block. We've all dealt with it. It's never really an issue until your art is what pays your bills. My biggest struggle when it comes to artist block is the fact that my creativity, much like most things in life, comes in waves. I will have days or weeks where I will just be constantly drawing, creating, having tons of ideas just come to my brain. And then before I know it, my brain is empty and there's nothing. I have a hollow shell of a head. It is not fun. It literally goes from constant creation to absolute radio silence. It is disturbingly quiet in my head when I don't have creativity pumping through my brain. Not a good time. Not a vibe, if you will. This pushes me to have a loss of effort in trying, because I'll go to draw and I'm like, what's the point? I'm not excited about this. Why even try? Why even do it? I feel like this kind of sends me into a bit of a spiral because my niche is very much hippie dippy, bo bippy. And, when you think of hippies, you think of peace signs, mushrooms, bell bottoms, good vibes. You think of those things, right? When I have a lack of inspiration, I'm just like, everything's been thought of already. There's nothing I can do. There's no point in trying because all of the ideas that relate to my niche have been taken. They've been used. There's no point in creating more. It's just like a whole downward spiral of negative self-talk, and that's not what we're here for. No, we don't want to do that. So when you're working with a niche, I feel like it's possible to feel very, very limited, and it sucks because you just feel stuck, like you can't go forward. But the good news is I've got 5 tips for you to solve these issues. When I was creating this list, I started thinking I need to start listening to my own podcast because, man, where was this the last time I had a creative dry spell? So let's get into the advice because I do think it's valuable, and I will be implementing these things more so than I have in the past because whoever came up with them is a friggin' genius. I'm not a genius, but I do have good ideas a lot of the time, so those are my credentials. Trust me. Tip number 1 is to optimize this time of not making art by doing admin work. When you do admin work or things that you've put off that you have to do, you will feel so productive. You will still get that gratifying feeling that you get when you finish a piece of art, that feeling you get at the end where you're like, I've completed it, I've done it, I feel so good. Imagine how you would feel if you updated your bookkeeping or you created some content. I don't know how this might apply to you, but I have a lot of repetitive things that I do. I like to make some stickers, kind of re-up the inventory. If you create art prints, that would be a good time to stock up your art print inventory. Basically, any kind of mundane task that adds value to your business, something that doesn't take a lot of brain power or a lot of focus that you can just kind of do willy-nilly. The last thing that I should do more often than I currently do is working on store searches. If you want to get into stores, sending out cold emails, doing cold calls, searching for potential stores that would carry my work. You'll never guess what I do with the stores that I find. I put them in a spreadsheet. P.S. I am gonna have a whole episode on store searching, consignment, and wholesale thinking about making that the next episode. I will give you some of my insight and strategies, kind of diving into the world of retail. So yeah, working on things like that. On just doing any sort of busy work that you need to get done but you haven't gotten done, get it done. To me, I'm like, I've got two personalities when it comes to work. Number one is the creative, artsy fartsy lartsy person that I am, that I act as most of the time. But then there's also the businessy side of me who's like, put on Shark Tank and let's do some cold calling. You know, it's hard to find a balance between the two, but when I'm on my businesswoman-ish, I feel really good. Seriously, these cats are just coming out of nowhere. Ravi, what's the deal? Come on, you can sit down. I would prefer if you sat down, actually. Come here. My second tip of advice is to go touch some freaking grass. Get outside, leave your house, get out of your house. I need to tell myself this because I stay in my house all the time. But yeah, go outside. Go for a walk, go to a coffee shop, switch up where you're working. That can always be inspiring. I love going to coffee shops because you always see people who are there working. And then it's like, oh, that's what we're doing here. We're at the office. We need to get things done. Little Miss Chai Latte over there is typing up a storm. And I'm over here. What am I doing? What am I contributing? So go to a coffee shop. That's fun. Go do some errands. I love going and doing errand days. They're so fun. That brings me to my next one. Go hang out with a friend. Last week, I scheduled an errand day with my bestie Taylor, and we got so much done. Her cat got spayed. I got an oil change. We went shopping a little bit. It was just the best day. And I know I mentioned last week, nothing gets my inspiration fired up like going to see a friend. That was the friend I was talking about specifically. Miss Taylor, hi, I know you're watching and I love you. We just have so much fun together. We just chat up a storm. Her and I could talk, I'm not kidding you, for 24 hours. It's just so refreshing, bouncing off your everyday life, your work life with a friend. It's just therapeutic. The third piece of advice is to do some inner child work. This could be as simple as watching a movie or a show that you used to watch when you were a kid. That's what I always do. I rarely will put on a new show. I do sometimes, but the majority of the time it is a 80s, 90s, early 2000s sitcom because that's what I watched as a kid all the time. And it really does something for me. It really just puts me back in that spot where I'm at my childhood home. So yeah, watching a show or a movie that you loved when you were a kid, eating foods that you liked when you were a kid to work on your inner child. You could go to a park and go swinging or do the monkey bars. You could go to like a familiar place that you loved to go to as a kid. For me, my mom and I would go thrifting all the time, and we would go to, you guessed it, craft stores. So we would always go to this specific area. If you live in Michigan, we would go to Alpine in Plainfield and hit the two Salvation Armies there because they're huge and color-coded, and I love that. It just does something for my brain. And so I love going there even now because I just feel at home. I just think about all the times that my mom and I had, or my sister and I would go to Target though. That was our store. We would look for clothes together and girly things, and that was always fun. Yeah, heal your inner child. Work on that. That always sparks creative inspiration for me. Next tip of advice: change and reset your space. Move a piece of furniture, switch out a lamp. I always say this: clean space, clean mind. If there's less clutter, guess what? That makes a lot more room to have creative inspiration and new thoughts and ideas that you can then turn into art. So reset your space, change something around. It's always exciting when you change your space and then you leave for a little bit and then you come back and you're like, whoa, I have a new house. Moving your own energy around and your home's energy around, it'll do something to you. My last tip is to rest. Allow yourself a lazy day every once in a while. We all need it. And if you're like me, you probably work on Saturday and Sunday because all of a sudden you have a burst of energy to do some work. So don't feel bad if it's like a Tuesday and all you want to do is sit down, do it. Resting is okay. And I'll tell you why. You need to listen to your body when it tells you to rest, because guess what's gonna happen if you don't? You're gonna get sick and you will have no choice but to lay in bed miserable. So allow your body to rest. I need to take that advice, okay? I'm aware my resting and sleeping habits are not ideal. So I'm really telling you, for me, we can both take my advice. So just as a recap, the 5 things that you can do when you are having artist block. Number 1, optimize your time and do some busy admin work. Number 2, get out of your house and touch some grass or snow. I don't know where you live. Number 3, do some inner child healing. Number 4, change and reset your space. And number 5, the most important of all, if you're going to take anything away from my list of advice, take this one: rest your body, rest your mind. You don't have to be productive all the time. Next segment, I'm super excited about because, like I said earlier, I love journaling. I think it's amazing. I think it is such a healthy practice. And I thought it would be fun to give you guys some journal prompts that you can use going forward. So I'm going to do this every week, and all the journal prompts are going to relate to the topics that we talked about in the episode, and hopefully it'll help you digest them and give you more value from this podcast by making use of the topic discussion. It'll just be like a little worksheet, you know? The first journal prompt for today: a time I was my most creative was blank. Next one: when I have strong creative flow, it makes me feel blank. And the last journal prompt: when I don't have creative flow, I feel blank. If you would like to share your responses, please send them to my Instagram or my TikTok. I would love to read them. Next order of business is a giveaway. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the giveaway. The first item you will receive if you win this giveaway is a journal that I created, so you can put your little journal prompt responses in the journal that I made you. Hee hee. In addition to the journal, the winner will also be receiving a pack of stickers. They are all waterproof and they are all handmade by me with my original artwork on them. So the rules in entering this giveaway, I'm just gonna lay them out there for you. There's going to be a post on my Instagram when this podcast goes live. What you need to do with said post is, number 1, like the post. Number 2, follow Creatively Processed on Instagram and TikTok, and follow Moon and Stars Formations on Instagram and TikTok. After you have followed, I'm going to need you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Then put that post on your story on Instagram. Let's get some exposure so more people can be graced with my chaotic, uncertified, and potentially problematic advice. And the last thing you are going to do to seal the deal and get your entry in is to tag 3 friends in the comment section of the post. Each time you make a purchase through my business while the giveaway is live, you will receive 5 more entries. Okay, that's all I have for you today. I'm pretty sure I've talked your ears off, and maybe your nose and eyes and mouth. Thank you so much for bringing your cutesy little ears to my podcast this week. I appreciate it so much. Make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, you follow, you rate. Actually, yeah, if y'all can rate this podcast, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and throw a little rate on here. If you're on YouTube, drop a comment down there. Let me know if you want me to talk about anything specific. I have lots of ideas already, but if y'all come up with anything, again, happy to be of service and talk about what you want to hear. Love you so much. I will see you or talk to you next Friday.